Round after round, this elite machine gun squad fires into enemy territory. Armed with M16s and M24s, they're up against a dozen armed insurgents. Corporal Jackson leads the gunners, he shouts orders and communicates with ground troops.
Corporal Jackson! Fire!
The role of the machine gun squad is critical. As riflemen on foot move in, machine gun fire is the only thing stopping the insurgents from launching their own attack. The rifle squad is in the line of fire. The enemy has a vantage point. It's positioned on a hill and protected by trenches. The machine gunners take up a support by fire position. The rifle squad moves in and soon they're within range of the enemy.
Got a insurgency that during the day they rest and refit, and during the night they then do ambushes. So we've located a squad-size element that's resting and refitting along the road here.
It's the result of a fictitious enemy force being destroyed in exercises over the last few weeks. Today was one of the final attacks, virtually eliminating the enemy and winning the battle. It's one of the most important for the US Marines. Rare practice for an attack that's common in rural war zones. There's every chance that the notes taken here today could be pulled out and analysed by the Marines before a real battle in similar terrain.
Back in California, we either train in the desert or we train on Camp Pendleton, which is right near the ocean. And there's no tree line like this. So having this tree line makes it a lot more, adds a lot of friction for our guys.
I should let you know.
Once the battle is won, the troops debrief. Today, communication is the focus.
Communication is key. Communication is vital, because if we lose, one team gets cut off, when we lose communication, the whole plan can go awry real quick.
Talisman Sabre will come to an end this week as the mission moves closer to being accomplished. Jared Brevy, 7 News.
The Correctional Centre cocktail sure has a kick.
We have treated somebody where they have needed hospitalisation so they could have fluids and actually go on an alcohol withdrawal regime.
Surprisingly, the reports show the hardened inmates prefer a fruity twist. 6 of the 7 brews discovered this year were made with orange peels, juice and other fruits.
Food items are available, of course, prisoners have to eat, and it is about controlling the quantities.
But if you like liqueur, there's a milk-based brew. In one incident, officers located a cloudy liquid substance that had a pungent odour and a small amount of bubbles when shaken. Yes, that's shaken, not stirred.
Generally, the brews are very small. If they're found, they're usually concealed.
The prisoners at Below Security Farm have been evading capture by burying Vegemite-infused watermelons. In another case, a busted brewer tried to get off on a technicality, saying he'd been making fruit juice and that it was not a brew as it had no sugar. That excuse didn't mix. He, like others, risked separate confinement.
There are very few privileges that they are allowed, apart from the basic necessities.
Behind bars, like any bar, too much grog fuels violence, so special sniffer dogs are trained to detect the contraband.
They'll gradually pick up that scent, and every time they get rewarded for it, then they know that's what they're after.
But the home brews aren't just a problem for security. The high alcohol concentration means it's bad for the prisoners' health. So there's an on-site medical centre to treat inmates for alcohol poisoning.
We have no idea what they've actually drunk.
In-house breathalyzers help, and hospital visits are left for the worst cases. But abstinence is the preferred treatment.
Don't try it because we'll find it.
Eamon Atkinson, 7 News.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Queensland's coal is brought to the surface and shipped across the world. It's a coal rush, one that dug Australia out of the depths of a downturn. And this is the coal industry's new frontier. The Galilee Basin, once thought too remote to mine, is buzzing with activity. 6 mammoth mines are being planned here. Together they'll export more than 150 million tonnes of thermal coal a year.
I think over time it's going to rival the Hunter in New South Wales and the Bowen Basin.
Australia's biggest business leaders are racing to open up the Galilee Basin. The country's richest woman, Gina Rinehart, is leading the charge.
Gentlemen, please commence mining.
When they're completed in 2014, the Alpha and Kevin's Corner mines will be the biggest in the country. Coal will be shipped overseas to feed Asia's hungry power plants, generating billions in royalties for Queensland.
The size and scale of this is something that has not been seen before in Queensland, and for that matter in most parts of the world.
You know, simply because of the size of it and the revenue this will bring, the job opportunities of course, but the other opportunities that go through, not just directly on the mine, but as they go through the community.
But billionaire Clive Palmer says he'll be the first to open up the Galilee.
Well, there's no competition as we see it. We've got the money and I think anyone else has.
Mr Palmer's China First mine will create 6,000 jobs in construction and another 1,500 when it's operational. In May, Waratah Coal announced it would be the first to tap into the Galilee Basin, but industry critics doubt they'll beat the competition.
Well, those critics must be very informed critics, because in projects where you have to build them for 3 or 4 years, the first year when the project kicks off is normally in manufacturing all the equipment that you need to construct.
The biggest challenge in building these mines isn't their size, but their location. Out here there's no power, no rail and no water supplies. All that will have to be built at a staggering $15 billion.
That is a significant contribution to the state, to the Australian economy.
And it's not just the Galilee Basin undergoing big changes. Major miners have been reaping the rewards of the neighbouring Bowen Basin for decades. Now they're digging deeper and faster than ever.
There's no question at all about the demand scenario for our minerals and energy out of Queensland.
50 new mines are planned to open in the Bowen Basin in the next 6 years. Coal from Rio Tinto's new Claremont mine is already making its way around the world. The massive operation is expected to generate more than $10 billion in royalties for Queensland.
It's a very impressive operation. It's huge. It's one of the largest coal seams around, and it's taken a long time to work out how to get to it and mine it.
Other operators are also planning major expansions.
Far from simply surviving the global financial crisis, many mines are quite literally digging their way out. Here at Blackwater's Curragh mine, they're preparing for a $550 million expansion.
We are seeing an enormous boom in the coal mining industry in Australia on the back of the demand coming from Asia.
The Curragh mine will grow to export 8.3 million tonnes of coking coal a year. Work is underway on a new wash plant, along with the rollout of super-sized mining equipment.
Some of the first time you'll see these trucks in the Bowen Basin, so we're very excited about that opportunity.
So much growth at so many mines. Experts say the country will need 63,000 new coal miners in the next decade. The challenge will be finding them. Business leaders want major miners to discourage fly-in, fly-out workforces and build local communities.
There's a lot of the mining camps and that, and where it's been identified that there's an 80% divorce rate. So that's not something that we like to encourage.
And it's not something the mining giants are likely to change. Andrew Denny, 7 News.
A fireball raged where a house once stood. Flames soared into the air and thick black smoke billowed out down Wood Street. Firefighters were at the mercy of the blaze that was fuelled by an open gas line.
Because the fire was well involved when we arrived, we couldn't make access to isolate those power and gas.
Neighbours watched on in horror.
Flames, the whole lot was just one big ball of flame, yeah. Next one we hear a bang and like clonk, crackle. And
first house fire I've ever seen, and that was intense. Way intense.
Jared Thompson lived in the rental home with his parents and little brother.
That was everything, basically. Everything we owned was inside that house.
The family moved here from Gympie only 6 months ago for a fresh start. And 17-year-old Jared was out job hunting when he heard the news.
Go out in the morning to go look at a job and you get a phone call while you're filling out an application form that your house is on fire.
The family dogs Turbo, Spike and Sky were pulled to safety, but other pets may have perished.
Yeah, I think the birds mightn't have got out.
A firefighter was taken to hospital with minor burns, but crews say the blaze was so intense it could have been much worse.
Yeah, I'd say in this case they were extremely lucky.
The house has been so badly damaged it could take weeks to work out what sparked the blaze. And authorities hope these charred remains serve as a reminder for people to fire-safe their homes.
To be aware of all those things that the fire service talk about, such as your smoke alarms, water heaters, space heaters, electric blankets.
Sally Prosser, 7 News.
Under the light of a full moon, a united community stopped to remember. Soldiers stood proudly at the cenotaph, the words engraved on the monument, a permanent tribute.
The cenotaph is a reminder of the sacrifice the Central Queensland Defence Force men and women have made in the past and will continue to make in order to protect our country.
Emerging from the darkness, servicemen and women paid tribute to our fallen diggers as an eerie silence fell across the crowd. Many hold the sounds of war close to their heart.
My parents were both in the Air Force and my brother served in Vietnam, and yeah, it's important for me today to remember them.
And our younger generation is doing what it can to ensure the legacy of our Anzacs survives the test of time.
We're representing the ones who have died for us to have a free country.
There are still people out there fighting for us, and we wouldn't be how we were today if it wasn't for them.
More than 100,000 Australians died on foreign soil.
We remember those who have paid the supreme sacrifice so that we and the people of other nations can live in peace.
The haunting sound of the last post is just as powerful 98 years on. Stephanie Jeans, 7 News.
Life's a beach for Wayne and Laura. The young South African couple moved to Australia 2 years ago for the ultimate sea change.
And we just decided it's a beautiful little family spot and beautiful fishing as well, yeah.
This is Pumpkin Island, an untouched tropical paradise 14 kilometres off the Capricorn coast. Nestled in the Keppel Islands, this little-known gem has offered guests a blissful escape since the 1960s. It's only now that it's started to make its mark.
Because it's not as commercial, people tend to, you get away from your normal life and your normal routine.
The eco-friendly retreat is powered entirely by wind and sun. 5 secluded cottages range from $300 to $650 a night. Guests say it's worth every penny.
It's totally unique, I think, because especially there's no TV, so you're not sitting in front of the TV, you're forced to be outside.
Well, we've been walking, we've been looking for shells, we've been wallowing, the best part of it, just wallowing in the water.
In spite of wet weather, interest rate hikes and a strong Aussie dollar, tourism on Pumpkin Island is booming. This Christmas season, Wayne and Loris have reported record figures. The region's peak tourism body says it's not hard to see why.
It's beautiful by nature, but you feel as though you are a part of the Great Barrier Reef, and I think that that's its key selling point.
No matter how you choose to pass the time, one thing is guaranteed: you'll never want to leave. On Pumpkin Island, Anna McManamy, 7 News.
This is Muriel. She's old, pushy, and as a former matron, every nursing student's worst nightmare.
Have you made me a cup of tea yet?
The kettle's boiling.
Well, you better hurry up.
Thankfully, Muriel is all just an act. Underneath is Dr. Kerry Reid Searle, Senior Lecturer in Nursing at CQ University.
The students can feel quite confronted for the first time they experience the character. The second time and repetitive times after that, there's a level of comfort. So these characters become part of the students' lives.
Then there's Cyril Smith. He's a certified first aid guru and has a granddaughter studying nursing.
Hang on, have you washed your hands?
Yeah, outside.
Dr. Kerry has been lecturing at CQU for 20 years. Her silicone masks have won her Educator of the Year from the Australian Nurse Teachers Society.
I could then transform into a patient, a character with the history, and then use that as the platform for teaching.
She's hoping to go global with her MaskEd method.
Other universities, other organisations now coming in and saying, we believe we could use this process. We'll supply the resources, the teaching, the training of how it works.
An American company will manufacture the masks specifically for the education purpose. They're also creating lifelike wounds, arms, feet, and even genitals.
Look, it's just fantastic to have someone like Kerry working for the university and really being out there and lifting the reputation of the uni through the great work she's doing.
MaskEd will be launched in March.
I really thought this was just a strategy that I could use in my own classroom to engage students. I didn't ever expect that it would be launching into something like this.
Claire Robinson, 7 News. Trekking through some of Queensland's most stunning terrain is an eye-opener.
Beautiful track, isn't it?
The views from Mount Etna are breathtaking.
If you're here in a huge storm, there's a lot of water running across here and going straight down over the benches.
Diane Vavrin has been a ranger here for 33 years. Tonight we're joining her on the first tour of the season to Bat Cliff.
So they can leave their little furless babies there while they go out to feed at night. And that's what we come to see. We come to see them coming out and going out over the horizon to feed.
Thousands of mum-to-be bats arrive here from November. Mount Etna acts like a maternity cave. Heat is trapped inside, providing a warm, safe environment for birth.
Now 80% of the currently known population of little bent-winged bats depends on this one cave for their survival. Had it been destroyed, within their lifespan we probably would have lost that population.
Mining companies tried to set up operations here in the 60s. It started the longest-running conservation campaign in Australia. In 1988, the company surrendered part of its lease. Bat Cliff remained untouched, later becoming a national park.
It's scary to think that this could have all been destroyed.
During Bat Cliff season, 110,000 female bats will emerge from Mount Etna every night. And they're hungry little critters. Each female will eat more than half of her body weight in insects.
Where else are you going to get to see little bent windbacks feeding in the wild?
I really liked it. I thought it was amazing how they all swarmed out, and my favourite part was the snake.
Ah yes, the snakes. Bats aren't the only ones hungry around here. There are plenty of pythons around waiting for a fast food fix.
And we've had people come here that heard about it in Germany. And a lot of people who do it, they come back year after year.
Claire Robinson, 7 News.